I can't speak for anyone but myself, so I don't know about what draconian measures people would ask for. I certainly wouldn't support that. But Jimmy Kimmel got fired, according to the Wall Street Journal and the Hollywood Reporter, because he refused to apologize. He wasn't planning on apologizing. He, in fact, was planning on furthering the commentary, criticizing MAGA for twisting his words. According to the Wall Street Journal, the executives approached him on his side, saying they were actually going to defend him. But the advertisers and the affiliates were upset over the comments that he made, portraying the assassin as a MAGA guy.
In this clip, we're going to watch Tim Pool break down exactly what happened to Jimmy Kimmel and why leftists are crying and why leftists are hypocrites. And Tim Pool is going to eviscerate the entire panel of leftist lunatics who don't understand that tick for tack is really just what's going on here. And that, you know, hey, look, leftists did it to conservatives during the Biden administration. And this time around, Jimmy Kimmel got served with his own type of behavior. Jimmy Kimmel has been known to say that if people aren't jabbed, they shouldn't be able to get hospital beds and all sorts of things like that. And Jimmy Kimmel was served with consequences this time for Jimmy Kimmel's comments. So Tim Pool is going to eviscerate this panel of leftist loons who are going to cry hypocrisy or whatever and make them see what is actually going on the Piers Morgan show.
Jimmy Kimmel expressed his desire to further that line that he had pressed the day before. That's when they had a private meeting and decided to pull his show. So I do believe the FCC comments obviously played a role. I think it was multifaceted. But I've said this since cancel culture was more in the news with many on the left getting people canceled on the right. If you own a company and someone says something objectionable which threatens the existence of your company, I don't care if that person gets fired. If someone at my company was going on social media and posting abhorrent racist things, I'd fire them too. The issue with cancel culture is that people were being fired for things that were not objectionable. There was a Netflix executive who got fired for simply describing the racial slurs they would not allow on Netflix. Papa John got fired and removed from his company, named stripped from universities for lamenting the fact that the colonel used a racial slur and got away with it. And there was no criticism. In fact, in one instance, a NASCAR driver lost sponsorship because his father used a racial slur in the 80s. That's cancel culture. Pulling Sarah Silverman off a movie because 10 years ago she did a blackface joke, that's cancel culture. Bud Light facing a massive sales backlash and having their beer pulled from stores and bars, Target losing customers and being criticized. This is consumer backlash. So I certainly don't think a teacher who criticizes Charlie Kirk should get fired. What I will add on top of this is the real reason stated by the reporting from various outlets, left and right, was that Jimmy Kimmel was going to continue that line the next day. And that caused concern they would lose more advertisers at a time when Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are down 43% and he's costing them millions of dollars. So if the FCC is to come out and say, we are going to get you taken off the air, that's a bad thing. But I think it's important that we discuss the context around when a business has a right to say, you are threatening the existence of our company.
Adam Freeland, I interviewed Jay Leno about a year and a half ago, and he was really interesting about...
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually great. I went to his car garage in LA. We had a great few hours. I loved it. But
cool.
What I liked about what he said was, you know, he believed in like teasing and gently mocking all politicians from all sides.
Correct.
And he talked about the kind of real sort of golden period of Johnny Carson. Nobody knew Johnny Carson's politics at all. And yet, if you've watched late night comedy in America in the last 10 years, since Trump became a politician, all of them, almost two, I mean, they're all middle-aged white guys, which always makes me laugh when you think about the diversity push, which never seemed to attack late-night comedy. But they all, to me, developed an increasing loathing of Trump, which began to really distort what their actual job was, which was to make Americans laugh late at night. I stopped watching them quite a long time ago. I could not watch it. Jimmy Fallon, I would kind of keep out of this. I think he's always been a lighter touch, but I think Kimmel and I think Colbert in particular.
If you guys like this clip, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you to every eye that lands on this video.
They really went hard in the anti-Trump rhetoric. The View, it doesn't have alternate views. It has one view. They all hate Trump.
Very funny show.
They all came out in black funereal clothes after he won again. And I don't think these serve their viewers, and I don't think they serve their companies. But I also feel uneasy, as Kat said, about the FCC poking its nose publicly into making not even veiled threats, but direct threats that if ABC, Disney didn't take action against Kimmel, then they were going to pay the consequences. So where do you sit with all this?
Listen, I'm new to your audience, so just to introduce myself, I am a tell it like it is comedian, and no one's safe from my jokes, be it bratty kids, celebrities, politicians, people that just walk by. They're all fair game, but it is still deeply unconstitutional and immoral for the president to silence his enemies. But I think what's important now, especially because it's so crazy right now, is that we zoom out as like people, like human beings. And like, there's a lot of kind of empathy being expressed towards Kimmel right now. But where is the empathy for Donald Trump? Certainly what it seems like to me is that he feels like he's been bullied. And I've been a victim of bullying my entire life, and still I am regularly. I'm on the internet. But I've always said to my bullies, like, while it's disrespectful, rude, hurtful for them to be saying that, I support their constitutional right to be saying things about me that aren't true. So, previous Democratic administrations have gotten the same treatment from conservative comics like Dennis Miller, Michael Richards, Kill Tony. I'm sure a lot of that caused Joe Biden a lot of pain, but never were their constitutional rights violated by the executive branch of the government. And I think that is what the clear difference is here. And I think for all of us as a culture, we have to ask ourselves, like, is the president suffering right now from being made fun of? And
he's obviously making a joke. It's kind of taking a little longer here, but this rant is taking a little too long for my comfort. I want to get back to Tim because Tim kind of gets really excited about this conversation. But at the end of the day, again, it's like, just complaining, just like, I don't even know what point he was just making there. Let's not act like conservatives were not censored and all of that through the Biden administration. I mean, it happened. I don't know. He brought up 2 comics who weren't censored, but people were censored to the point where so-called YouTube is trying to fix that now or something like that. Don't quote me. So this is just, this is not a shock that this happened. Plus, with ratings and all of that, if Jimmy Kimmel was not doing that great and he was going to continue on his path of the things he was saying, so of course they would take the next step. It just makes sense.
The head of the FCC was threatening. That to me, that's what makes this different. And I'm not a Democrat. I'm not on the left. I'm not on the right either. I'm just an independent, and I'm a free speech advocate. And as a free speech advocate, if I cannot imagine having any other take, but at the very least, being able to understand how someone could possibly think that maybe this had something to do with it.
Yeah, Tim Pool, I got to say, it's a persuasive argument that Kat makes.
I don't think so. It's just not the reporting. I certainly understand when Brendan Carr says...
I don't believe everything I read in reporting. I think for myself.
Indeed. So you make things up, I guess, because what I can only go off of is what the left and the right...
What did I make up, Tim? What did I make up? Everything I just said was factual. No, you're going to accuse me of making things up? No. What did I make up?
You made up that the FCC had a direct...
What did I make up? I didn't make up anything. Everything I said is what happened.
An assumption that I think is not unreasonable, but the official reporting from left-wing sources and right-wing sources, I mean the more mainstream ones, is that the executives were largely behind Jimmy Kimmel. Advertisers, as well as affiliates, took issue with the comments he made, insinuating the assassin was somehow a Trump supporter, whether that was unintentional or otherwise. Jimmy Kimmel, as officially reported, did not want to apologize, didn't feel he needed to apologize, and wanted to further those comments criticizing MAGA for twisting his words. If we are going to make the assumption the principal reason his show was taken off the air was Donald Trump and the FCC, that would be us speculating, not going off the main reporting. And the only thing I've heard this whole time with even Ben Smith and everybody is the assumption that is true, despite the evidence suggesting it played a minimal role. So I think it's fine to assume that. Brendan Carr saying that can be worrying to affiliates. However, if we're going to go off what the actual reporting says from liberal outlets and conservative outlets, Bob Iger, as well as other executives, asked Jimmy Kimmel to walk it back, and he said no. They said, okay, your show dropped 43% over 1 month. Maybe we shouldn't do this anymore.
Okay, Adam Friedland.
Well, so Tim makes a good point, but the thing is, Tim did kind of contradict himself because he said it had nothing to do with it. Then he said it had a minimal thing to do with it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I am a free speech absolutist, to be honest. I mean, look, I know that people are doing the whole tick for tack thing, and that's fine. They you know, things that are going to happen are going to happen. And, you know, we see now that it just can't fly anymore right now under this administration. But, pretty interesting debate. I'm shocked actually that Kat took this point. This must have really kind of, you know, maybe shooken her up. She's on the Greg Gutfeld show. So I'm actually shocked. Pretty interesting debate though. You guys let me know what you think. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.